The $1 trillion blind spot, why we celebrate Black women's hustle while starving. Their businesses, welcome to Soft Girl Era, the sacred space where strong Black women unlearn survival, rediscover softness, and reclaim the joy, rest, and freedom they deserve without guilt, without apology, and without explanation. I'm your host, LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolice, like sweet softness whispered in French. And I'm your guide from burnout to boundaries, from doing to being, from strong to soft and loving every second of it. Today, I had the profound honor of sitting down with Terri Clark, a visionary advocate whose work is reshaping the landscape for Black women entrepreneurs across North America. Terry's not just talking about change. They are actively building the bridges, opening the doors, and creating the pathways that allow Black women to step into their full economic power and potential. Their research is exposing the systems that have kept us locked out, underfunded, and underestimated for far too long. And what they shared with me, what they revealed through their work and the voices of over 1,500 Black women founders, is something that will shake you to your core. It will challenge everything you think you know about entrepreneurship, resilience, and what it truly takes to thrive in a world that wasn't designed with us in mind. Here's the truth that nobody wants to say out loud. Black women are building businesses at record rates across North America. We are launching ventures, creating jobs, filling gaps in our communities, and doing it with brilliance, with grit, with vision. We are the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs on this continent. We are educated, ambitious, strategic, and ready. But here's the part that should stop us all in our tracks. Despite this explosion of entrepreneurial activity, Black women founders face systemic funding barriers so severe, so entrenched, that they are costing this continent trillions, yes, trillions, in unrealized economic potential. Let that sit with you for a moment. We assume that visibility equals access. We assume that if we see more Black women starting businesses, that must mean the doors are opening, the capital is flowing, the support is there. We think that because we're showing up, because we're building, because we're creating, that the system is finally working for us. But Terry showed me the data, and the data tells a completely different story. Black women founders receive only a fraction of venture capital funding. We're talking about less than 1%. Many of us are self funding our ventures up to $100,000 out of our own pockets, our own savings, our own sacrifices. And 43%, nearly half, are unable to secure any external funding at all. Not because we're not qualified, not because our businesses aren't viable, not because we're not working hard enough, but because the systems in place refuse to see us, refuse to invest in us, refuse to believe in us. This isn't just about individual struggle. This is about an entire economy leaving money, innovation, and transformation on the table because the gatekeepers can't see past their own biases. Terry walked me through a report that surveyed over 1,500 Black women founders across Canada. These women, these brilliant, educated, ambitious women, are not asking for handouts. 58% of them hold bachelor's degrees or higher. Many have advanced degrees, years of industry experience, proven track records. 44% identified as being in the growth phase of their businesses. They are ready. They are capable. They are doing the work. But the funding, the mentorship, the networks, those are being gate kept in ways that are invisible to those who don't experience them, but devastatingly real to those who do. And here's where it gets even more heartbreaking. These women didn't start their businesses because they had some romanticized vision of entrepreneurship. They didn't wake up one day dreaming of pitch decks and investor meetings. They started out of necessity. They saw gaps in the market. They saw needs in their communities that no one else was addressing. They saw problems that were being ignored, and they said, I'll do it. I'll build it. I'll create it. That's not hustle culture. That's survival innovation. That's what happens when you spent your whole life being told to make a way out of no way and you actually do it. That's what happens when the world tells you that you're not enough and you respond by building something from nothing. But survival innovation shouldn't be the only path. And that's what Terry is fighting to change. Let's talk about what resilience really means because we love to celebrate resilience, don't we? We love to talk about how strong Black women are, how we can do anything, how we always find a way. We write articles about it, we create hashtags about it, we build entire narratives around the strength and perseverance of Black women. And yes, that's true. We are resilient, we are strong, we do find a way. But Terry reminded me of something crucial. Resilience is essential, but so is addressing systemic barriers. We can't keep putting the entire burden of overcoming inequality on the shoulders of the people being oppressed by it. That's not empowerment. That's exhaustion dressed up as inspiration. That's trauma repackaged as motivation. The women in this research demonstrated remarkable resilience and resourcefulness. They leveraged personal savings when banks denied them loans. They sought out virtual mentorship programs, especially after the pandemic made in person networking nearly impossible. They built businesses while raising children, while working full time jobs, while holding down households and communities. They did all of this while being told implicitly and explicitly that they weren't worth the investment. But here's the question we need to ask: why should they have to? Why should brilliance and potential require superhuman effort just to access what others receive as a baseline? Why should Black women have to be 10 times better to get half as far? Why should we have to prove ourselves over and over and over again just to be considered worthy of the same opportunities that are handed to others without question? Let me take you to Philadelphia. Between 2012 and 2022, the number of Black owned employer firms in Philadelphia grew by 73%. 73%. That's not incremental growth. That's not a small uptick. That's a movement. That's a generation of Black entrepreneurs saying, we're not waiting for permission anymore. We're building our own tables. Black owned businesses now make up 27% of all city firms classifiable by race. That's the highest it's been in decades. These entrepreneurs relied on local networks, community support, and small business development programs to overcome barriers. They showed up for each other when the system wouldn't show up for them. But even with that explosive growth, even with all that determination and community support, Black business density in Philadelphia remains below the national average. And Black owned businesses in the city report 30% lower gross revenue than their peers in other cities. So, yes, we're building, yes, we're growing, but we're doing it with fewer resources, less support, and lower returns. We're running a marathon with weights on our ankles while everyone else gets a head start. And still, we keep going. That's resilience, but it's also injustice. And then there's the issue of mentorship and networks. Terry talked about how mentorship programs and networking opportunities do exist, but their reach is painfully limited, especially for Black women outside major urban centers or those balancing parenting with entrepreneurship. If you're not in New York, San Francisco, Toronto, or another major city, your access to these resources drops dramatically. And here's the part that really hit me: exclusion within women focused spaces. We talk about women supporting women. We create women's entrepreneurship programs, women's business accelerators, women's networking groups. But how often are Black women left out of those very spaces? How often do we walk into a room that's supposed to be for all women and realize that it was never designed with us in mind? How often do we have to navigate multiple networks, code switch across different communities, translate our experiences into language that makes others comfortable? just to access the resources that should be available to all women. Organizations like the Black Women Collective in Canada are doing incredible work to address this. They provide education, mentorship, and financial literacy programs specifically for Black women entrepreneurs. They've created virtual programs to reach those who can attend in person, especially mothers juggling childcare and business demands. They've served hundreds of women, creating a more supportive ecosystem, offering the kind of targeted support that mainstream programs often overlook. But as Terri pointed out, much work remains to scale these solutions. One organization, no matter how powerful, cannot dismantle decades of systemic exclusion alone. We need more. We need bigger. We need systems that are built from the ground up with Black women in mind, not as an afterthought, but as the foundation. Now, let's talk about the economic impact, because this is where the conversation shifts from fairness to undeniable financial reality. If Black women owned businesses achieved average revenue parity with white women, it would add $409 billion annually to the US economy, 409 billion every single year. If they achieved parity with Black men, it would inject $1.8 trillion. Trillion with a T. This is not a social justice issue. This is an economic imperative. Supporting Black women entrepreneurs isn't charity. It's not a favor. It's not about being nice or doing the right thing, although it is the right thing. It's smart business. It's unlocking potential that's already there, already working, already creating value, but being systematically undervalued and underfunded. It's recognizing that when you invest in Black women, you're not just changing individual lives, you're transforming entire communities, you're strengthening the economy, you're building generational wealth. And here's where this ties back to the soft girl era, because what Terri is talking about, what all of this research reveals, is that Black women have been operating in survival mode for so long that we've normalized it. We've made peace with doing more with less. We've turned scarcity into a badge of honor. We've convinced ourselves that if we just work harder, if we just prove ourselves more, if we just show up more perfectly, then maybe we'll get the access, the funding, the support we deserve. But that's the lie. That's the trap. And that's what we're here to dismantle. Terri's work is about creating a world where Black women entrepreneurs don't have to be superheroes just to survive. It's about building systems that see us, invest in us, and support us from the beginning, not after we've already proven ourselves 10 times over. It's about shifting from a model that celebrates resilience in the face of injustice to one that removes the injustice so resilience can be redirected toward joy, creativity, and true freedom. This is what softness looks like in the context of entrepreneurship. It's not about being less ambitious, it's not about lowering standards or playing small. It's about refusing to accept that struggle is the only path to success. It's about saying, I deserve support, I deserve funding, I deserve mentorship, I deserve rest. And I'm not going to apologize for demanding it. So here's what I need you to understand: this isn't just a Black women's issue, this is everyone's issue. Because when Black women thrive, everyone benefits. When we have access to capital, we create jobs. When we build businesses, we strengthen communities. When we succeed, we lift entire families, entire neighborhoods, entire economies, but we can't do it alone, and we shouldn't have to. So here's my challenge to you today. If you're an investor, I need you to look at your portfolio and ask yourself, how many Black women led ventures have I funded? And if the answer is none, or one, or not enough, I need you to change that. Not because it's trendy, not because it looks good on your website, but because it's the right thing to do and because it's the smart thing to do. If you're a mentor, I need you to show up with more than advice, show up with access, introduce Black women founders to your network, open doors that have been closed, use your privilege, your connections, your influence to create pathways that didn't exist before. If you're part of an accelerator or incubator, I need you to design programs that address the unique barriers Black women face, not generic programs that assume everyone starts from the same place. Programs that acknowledge systemic inequities and actively work to dismantle them. And if you're a Black woman entrepreneur, I need you to hear this. You are not asking for too much. You are not being too demanding. You are not supposed to do this alone. You deserve support. You deserve funding. You deserve to build your business from a place of abundance, not scarcity. You deserve to rest. You deserve to be soft. You deserve to thrive without having to sacrifice your peace, your health, or your joy. Because the soft girl era isn't just about rest, it's about reclaiming power, it's about redefining success, and it's about building a world where Black women don't have to choose between thriving and surviving. We get to do both. We get to be soft and strong. We get to be ambitious and at peace. We get to build empires and take naps. We get to demand equity and enjoy the journey. Terri Clark showed me that this is possible. The data shows us it's necessary. The stories of these 1,500 women show us it's urgent. And now it's up to us to make it real. So I'm asking you today, what role will you play? Will you be the investor who finally takes a chance? Will you be the mentor who opens a door? Will you be the community member who amplifies a Black woman's business? Will you be the policymaker who creates equitable funding structures? Will you be the entrepreneur who finally gives yourself permission to ask for what you deserve? Because change doesn't happen because we talk about it. Change happens because we act. Change happens because we refuse to accept the status quo. Change happens because we demand better and then we build better. The $1 trillion blind spot is real. The barriers are real. The injustice is real. But so is the potential. So is the brilliance. So is the power. And it's time we stopped celebrating Black women's resilience in the face of systemic failure and started dismantling the systems that make that resilience necessary in the first place. It's time we invested in Black women the way we invest in everyone else, with belief, with resources, with urgency. It's time we built a world where Black women entrepreneurs don't just survive, they thrive, they soar, they rest, they build, they lead. And they do it all while being soft, being whole, and being free. That world is possible. Terri is building it. These 1,500 women are proving it. Now it's your turn. What will you do?